Hello everyone, welcome back to the activities on Grade Time 1, Unit 4, and now we will work with the first part of grammar. So if you have your book, let's continue to page 40, and if you don't, the activities are right here. Let's begin. Well, first now we will take a look at how to use there is and there are. And for that, I need you to go back there on page 39 to read again the text about window of the world. Okay, read it and observe these three sentences that we have here to see how they used there is and there are. Okay? Well, after that, we will complete the sentences here to understand better how to use it. So, go back there, read it, and then try to do the activity, and then we continue with the video, okay? All right, guys, so here we have the sentences that we saw there in the text. Let's read them together. In the city of Shenzhen in China, there, well, what we have to observe here is if the word is singular or plural. Because if it's singular, then what do we have to use? There is or there are? Well, in this case, we will use there is. So, in the city of Shenzhen in China, there is a park called Window of the World. All right? Then number 2. Here we have a question. So to make a question using there is or there are, we have to do the same thing we did when we learned questions for present simple, verb to be. Okay? We take is or are, and then we put it in front of the sentence. So here we have are there any fun activities? So as you can see, in the first example we have there is a park called Window of the World. When we make a question, then we use are there any fun activities? Notice that we inverted the position here, okay? And then finally, let's take a look at the negative. But there aren't any people living in the park. So here we put not together with are, and we contracted it. And then observe something important. We have this word any here and also here. We will talk about that later on. Okay? Let's check. All right, well done. Now let's go back to the next exercise. Okay? All right, guys, so this is exercise number 2. And what we have to do here is read and match. Here are the options, and here are the sentences. Let's take a look at the example first to understand what you have to do. There are 6 bridges in the city. Well, why did we use there are here? Well, first of all, this is a positive sentence. We don't see any question marks, yeah? And then we see here that we have 6 bridges, more than one, right? So in this case, we need to use there are because it's a plural sentence. Now let's take a look at number 1. Any good movies on TV tonight? Well, we see that it's also a sentence that doesn't have a question mark. So we can't make a question here. And when we have any, but we don't have a question mark, it's because we have a negative sentence, right? And another thing we have to observe is that the noun is in its plural form. We have movies. So what's the best option here in this case? There aren't. Okay? So, remembering, we have the verb is there aren't, because we have no question mark indicating that we need to make a question. We have any indicating that it's a negative question, a negative sentence. And then we have movies indicating that is plural. So the best option that we have here is there aren't. All right? Number 2, a museum in your town. Here we have a question mark, right? And then we have museum as a singular noun. So in this case, is there. Okay? Number 3, a great cafe near here. So we have a positive sentence, and then cafe is in the singular form. So there is. Then we have any people in the park today. Well, so there aren't. And finally, any nice stores on this street. All right, let's check. Very well, that's it. Okay, guys, so remember when I told you on exercise 1 to observe the words any and some that we had? Now let's take a look on how to use them. And to do that, first we will do this activity here. Well, let's observe the situation and decide what's the best word to complete each sentence here. Okay? Here we have, but there aren't, blah, 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 people living in the park. We saw in the exercises before that when we have a negative sentence, even if it's not a question, we can use any, right? Because here, aren't is showing us, and also people is showing us that the sentence is in plural, okay? Well, here we have a question. So what's the best possibility here? Some or any? We saw before that it's any, right? And then finally, the one that's left, there are some great restaurants and cafes. Let's check. Very well, that's it. Now let's take a look at the rule to understand better how it works. Okay, so here we can see the rule. We often use some and any with plural nouns. So the situation where we need to choose between some and any is only when we have plural nouns. Okay? We use some in affirmative sentences, and we use any in negative sentences and questions. Okay, so this is the rule to choose when you have some or any. Okay, now let's take a look at exercise 4. What you have to do here is choose the correct words. Here is the sentence. The example is, there are some interesting things in the museum, right? Because we have an affirmative sentence in plural. So in this case, we choose some. Okay? Now pause the video, try to do the activity by yourself, and then in a moment, I'll go back to correct with you. Okay? Okay, very well. So let's see the options here. There aren't. What's the best one here? There aren't any parks in my town. Are there any good stores here? And then number 3, there are some nice places to eat here. Okay, let's check. Very well. That's it. And I'll see you later for the next videos, okay? Bye for now.